I came to Seaworld on a recruiting trip. I played volleyball all my life. That was my first passion of life was volleyball, and I had an opportunity to come to San Diego State. They were recruiting me to come play for their school, and they brought me to Seaworld as one of the things of saying, hey, this is San Diego and there's so many cool things to do. You can even come to Seaworld. I remember as a kid always wanting to come to Seaworld, but never had an opportunity. We didn't live close to Seaworld when I was growing up in the Bay Area. And little did I know that on that recruiting trip, that 5 years later, I would actually be working at Seaworld. But it makes total sense to me because all of my life, I've always loved animals. I was sitting at my college graduation dinner with my parents, and I will never forget this. My dad goes, you've just graduated from college. What are you gonna do? You need a job, come on. And I'm like, well, I don't think that I wanna work in my field. I wanna work with animals. That's my passion. And that's what I want to do. And he got silent because you're like, I'm just telling my parents I went to college and I'm not going to do anything with my degree. And my parents got quiet and my dad said, if I had to do it all over again, I would have followed my passion too. Do it. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. Make sure you love what you do. I honestly get a smile on my face every time I come to work. Because I work with so many different animals, people always ask me, what's your favorite animal? And I'm like, the animal that I'm working with right now, that's my favorite animal, because they're all so unique and they're all so amazing, and I absolutely love it. It really is who I am. I like the ability to be able to talk about things that I have done here at Seaworld. I have helped to rescue animals, so when someone asks about our rescue program, like, yeah, I get it. I understand your questions, and I want to tell you what we do. That's my favorite part, is being able to tell people on a personal level what we do here, and I really do it every single day. I work with a beaver. I work with an Asian water monitor. And I connect those animals with people on a daily basis, and there is nothing better than that.
My name is Jenny, and I'm a senior animal care specialist at Seaworld San Diego, working with the Arctic animals. I first visited Seaworld as a young child, about 5 years old, with my family. We actually came to Seaworld all the time. Growing up in San Diego, it was just something you did. And I'll never forget seeing a killer whale for the very first time and actually watching trainers interact with them. 5 years old, I knew that was going to be my career. I started in the education department, which was an amazing first start. I was able to learn about every single animal that we have here at Seaworld, learn about conservation, what we do as a park and as a company to help the animals out in their natural environment. So I got to participate in the camp programs, do school outreaches, and just really share about the animals that we have at Seaworld, and that was so important and a great building block to where I am now. What I love most about being a trainer, first and foremost, is developing a relationship with these animals. And every single day is different, makes it fun for us, makes it fun for the animals, and learning from the animals, they learn from us. It's just a very rewarding job. One of my very first memories, one of my very first highlights working with animals was coming in at 2 in the morning to bottle feed an orphaned harbor seal pup. Just knowing that I was a part of the rescue and rehabilitation team that helped that animal have a second chance at life, it doesn't get much better than that. One of the most recent milestones of my career, of my life, was traveling with the Conservation Ambassador team up to Churchill, Manitoba, Canada, and participating in Polar Bears International Leadership Camp, learning about climate change and how it's affecting polar bears and other Arctic animals. That changed me forever. The advice I would give to future trainers is that if it's your passion, if it's your dream to work at SeaWorld, go for it. It's definitely competitive, but it is the most fulfilling job in the world, and I couldn't be happier with the career choice I made.
My personal journey started almost 17 years ago. I'm originally from Ontario, Canada, and I wanted to work with animals since I was a little kid. My first interaction with a killer whale was in 2004 at the facility I used to work at. Her name is Shuka, and I got to work with her for several years. But part of my journey was hopefully to end up as a trainer, a killer whale trainer at SeaWorld someday. And I learned a lot from her, and when I got the opportunity to come down to San Diego, I had to take it. To work with a social group of killer whales was something that I knew I was going to learn a lot from. Never thought I'd see Shuka again, and lo and behold, about 7 years later, we were fortunate enough that we were able to have Shuka come down here and join now our 10 killer whales. Seeing her personality changes and her behavioral changes and her socially integrated into the pod, for me, she was living up there alone, was just such an awesome thing to see her in this environment. It's just a blast having her here and working with her. I have a little son, his name's Aiden, and he's 4.5 already. When you're trying to do something that you've wanted to do for a long time, and then when you have your kids coming in and seeing and learning about it and seeing that excitement, that's been something really neat for me. When you get a guest who asks you what you probably consider as a trainer a pretty general question, or a question you get every single day, to them it's not. To that person, what you may tell them in terms of an animal's personality or preference or anything like that, it blows their mind. To a guest, it's just like, wow. That's what I really enjoy, is the opportunities we have to talk to the guests and tell them again the whale story and specific things about the whales. They're just so engaged, they love hearing that stuff.
My name is Joy, and I'm a senior trainer at Dolphin Point, SeaWorld San Diego. I've been with SeaWorld, I have to calculate it, I've been with SeaWorld for about 10 years. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved animals, the water, and just being outdoors. So when I got older, I was going to school, and I was getting a degree in psychology, and I realized that this is really and truly what I want to do. And even though it had just been a dream when I was a little, I realized at that point that this is like something that I could make happen. SeaWorld to me was the best of the best. When I would go to animal training conferences and see the SeaWorld trainers there, that was the top of the top. That's where I wanted to be. I love the interactions that we get with the animals every day. They're something that people don't really see what we get to do, and these relationships we have with them. It's really neat to see different generations and the different personalities of dolphins that are here. Back in 2001, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2, and I ended up being treated at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. At that point, I was actually an adult, and they were able to treat me there more aggressively than they would at any other hospital. I got to see all the kids that were there. And you never want to see a child go through anything like that. But what I enjoyed was being able to tell them about the dolphins, and I would see their face light up when they would hear me talk about the dolphins. And so I always dreamed of taking them to SeaWorld and having them get into the water with a dolphin one day. Before I knew it, we were having this annual event. We've been doing it since 2008, 8. And every year we have Children's Hospital Los Angeles and Rady Children's Hospital come to the park. The kids get in the water, the parents come in to the park, they enjoy the day here, and I get to share my passion and my love for these animals with them. I think it's so important for younger guests to connect with the animals because they have this lifelong appreciation then for marine life. If they see a piece of trash on the beach or pick up that piece of trash, and they will help future generations of animals out in the ocean. The best part of working at Seaworld is the relationships I have with the animals and with the people, and it's really brought out the best in me. So I've done things I've never thought that I'd be able to do in my life because I've been able to work here.
This is Lauren. I'm down in Cape Town, South Africa, working at the Treasure oil spill. Can't wait to get back to tell you I'm having an overwhelming experience here. My Seaworld story really started out coming down here and working in the education department and realizing that working with animals is the most incredible thing in the world. And I get to do it every single day. You have these animals who are very unassuming, and you are really there to be their voice in many aspects, and to be able to see penguins that I raised, 30 years ago, and they're now having offspring, and their offspring of having offspring, and their offspring of having offspring, that is the most rewarding. It's like watching your kids grow up. I have many memories of my career here at Seaworld. There's so many different aspects of things that I've been able to do. I've worked at the penguin encounter for quite some time, but I also worked with our bird department. We've taken care of animals that have been part of oil spills. Being able to work with penguins and what we've been able to learn in caring for penguins here, going to South Africa in 2000 to work on the Treasure oil spill was probably a big highlight for me in the aspect of being able to care for animals in need. It was one of the largest undertakings that we've ever had, caring for animals, and one of my jobs was caring for about 700 penguin chicks. And to be able to raise these birds that had been abandoned and then get them to a point where they could swim and then release them and get them back into the wild was one of the biggest and most rewarding things I've been able to do. And the best part of that is that be able to release them and then see in 4 and 5 years that those birds have actually started to raise chicks of their own. And that is a true success story for me, is to be able to say that I help those animals with an incredible team of people. Seaworld cares. We do. We care about the environment, we care about the animals. And everybody that comes to Seaworld, everybody that works at Seaworld has an ability to have an impact in the positive of how we can care for these animals.
My name is Marcia, and I'm a senior animal care specialist at Seaworld San Diego. The exact moment when I knew I wanted to work with animals came from Seaworld, from visiting. I was only 5 years old, but I saw the killer whale show. I thought Shamu was amazing, and up to that point, I had only read about killer whales. So to see them in person, it really does make a big impact, especially on a young child. And the whole ride home, about 3 hours to ride home that night, I'm going to work at Seaworld over and over again, and I never stopped. I just really wanted to be a part of that dream. My career's been about 16 years at the park, and it's been mixed with all sorts of great interactions with people and with animals. Some of the best moments for me have been working with the rescue program and particularly returning some of these animals back to the ocean. I've really enjoyed working with dolphins for over a decade, developing close relationships with many of these animals. And recently my biggest highlights include the 4 sea otters that I work with. All 4 of them were rescued, and I was able to be a part of the team to hand raise each and every one of them. Seaworld has actually been so important for not just me, it's been important for my entire family. I met my husband here at Seaworld. When we had our first child, my daughter, she started visiting this park ever since she was just days old. I have a lot of great memories of her with animals that I've been taking care of, and now she's 5 years old. So she's the age that I was when I first made that connection at Seaworld. She's really inspiring me, and she has connections with the animals. and she's thrilled to be here, so it really warms my heart. But even better is the impact that it made on her. She told me that she started an otter club at school. They tell everybody to pick up their litter, to clean up the garbage so that the sea otters don't get tangled in the garbage. And it's all because she's come to visit me at work and she's seen pictures of sea lions or animals that have been entangled in different debris that we rescue. And she knows that these sea otters are special because Mommy raised them at Seaworld and took care of them. And it's become such an important thing for my family, and I could never have guessed the impact that it made on my daughter, only 5 years old. She wants to protect the environment now because of the connection of the animals she made here at the park.
My first visit to SeaWorld was when I was 9 or 10 years old. It was a family vacation. My parents said, we're going to SeaWorld. That's what started my entire career, my passion for marine life. Whether it was seeing whales splash and jump for the first time, or going into a shark encounter, which was very different from the shark encounter we now have, but literally seeing big, large, live sharks swimming around for the very first time. Not just the book that you flip through when you're a little kid and point out the sharks you like. This was sharks swimming right by me. It sparked my inspiration, and from 9 to 10 years old, I was like, that's it, I'm gonna be a marine biologist. When I started at SeaWorld, it was right after college, and it was on a Monday morning. I graduated from college with a degree in marine biology and a degree in psychology on a Friday, and 48 hours later, I started my career. And I told myself, I'm gonna work at SeaWorld, and when I stop having fun, I'll go back to graduate school. That was 20 years ago. And for me, a job that you're passionate about and is fun to come to every day and is different every day and allows me to share my passion with so many different types of people, it's just a perfect career for me. Whether it's working with marine mammals or working with sharks or working with sea turtles, it's just this great opportunity for me to share what I love to do and what I am most passionate about, which is the marine environment, with so many different types of visitors. Because part of my day is great when I am working with sea turtles or building a relationship with a walrus, but when I get to hang out with little Johnny and little Sally, that inspiration, that connection is just my favorite part of the day. And the key to why it's so important that people are able to visit SeaWorld and other zoos and aquariums is inspiring that magic, that wonder, because there are so many challenges that we are facing within our marine environment coming up due to lots of different factors. And it's not going to be me that solves them. It's not going to be my generation. It's going to be the next generation. And they need to recognize that nature has given us thousands and thousands of different types of beautiful animals, and I want to protect those, and I want to have some stewardship to make sure that even my children, the next generation, are able to see these wonderful things. Seaworld Story has been a great one for 20 years, but I have to give credit where credit's due to getting me to where I am in my career these days. Thanks, Mom. I love you.
This is Michael Bissett speaking.
This is Michael Bissett speaking.
And?
And
The thing I like most about SeaWorld so far
the thing I like of SeaWorld so far
was what?
the killer whales and the walruses.
Is that it?
No,
What about the hamburgers?
oh, I like the dolphins too. I like every kind of whale, everything here.
You're having a great time.
My name is Mike. I am a senior trainer here at Sea Lion and Otter Stadium. I've been here for about 4 years, going on my 5th summer, and I've been at SeaWorld since 2007. I got to be in the Shamu show when I was about 6 years old, and that's exactly when I knew I wanted to work at SeaWorld. Seeing that animal, and I just fell in love with them, and I knew I wanted to work with marine life from that point on. SeaWorld when I was a kid meant spending a lot of great time with my family. We lived in LA, So we'd come down here just for a day. My mom and dad would drive my sister and I down here, and we'd spend the day looking at animals and learning. Picking up a sea star and looking at all the different things on it. Going into the skywalks when those were brand new. It was so cool. We got to go in the skywalks and look at all the killer whales back there swimming around. Got to experience that with my dad and with my family. Now it's still family. My wife is here, my son comes in all the time, and I get to show my son a sea star. I get to show my son shark teeth. And then he gets to come backstage at Sea Lion and Otter Stadium and touch a sea lion and get a picture with an otter and get a picture up close with a killer whale. That's something, so it's all about family. It's all about bringing in these animals to your family and these animals having such an impact on that's what it has always meant for me. Being a trainer here at Seaworld San Diego has been a lifelong dream of mine. Being able to work with these animals, it is truly indescribable. We have a job that not many people get to have. We get to come out here and interact with these animals and educate people and show them things that they may not have known before. The connections that you establish with the animals are things that I'll remember for the rest of my life. They're the things I'll remember to tell my grandkids someday.
So currently he's drinking about 1.3 liters per feeding, about 6 times a day. And this is a huge turn of events. This is really going to make it a lot easier for this little guy.
They had 2 walrus calves that were rescued off the coast of Barrow, Alaska, and they were brought to the Alaska Sea Life Center in Seward, Alaska, and I was very fortunate to be chosen to be one of the people to go up there and rehabilitate these guys. Working here at Wild Arctic for almost 19 years now, I've had the great fortune of raising 3 walruses. So when they rescued Middick, we were a clear choice to send people up there to help rehabilitate him and get him healthy. It's not something that everyone's had the chance to learn how to do. It's a very specific job. So again, I think they're very fortunate that SeaWorld has had the opportunity and the experience to raise walrus calves. They were very young, so they were still nursing, so we actually had to teach them to bottle feed, get them healthy again, and it was such a great experience to work with Middick. I think one of the most amazing things about working here at Wild Arctic in 19 years is just the changes in the Arctic over the last 19 years. When I started here in '97, polar bears weren't threatened. Walruses, their populations were still okay. We try so hard to educate our guests about climate change and conservation because every little thing that we do, whether it's turning off a light bulb that you don't need or unplugging your computer, everything we do is affecting the animals up in the Arctic. And even though they're thousands and thousands of miles away, people might not understand that every little change they make to conserve, to make the world better, is going to affect these animals, and it is going to help these animals.
Started in the education department, and from there I wanted to go into the bird department. I applied for a aviculturist position. Doing this full time was what I want more than anything. My early memories of SeaWorld include coming here every year for Mother's Day. When we moved out to California, we were close to SeaWorld, so it was just what my mom wanted to do. Every year she wanted to celebrate by getting the family together and walking around SeaWorld. And I remember there's this manatee statue out in front of the manatee exhibit, and my mom still to this day will post that photo and be like, can you believe, that you took this photo and now you're working there with the animals and it was so long ago? And it's just funny because if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be here today. So thanks, Mom. On a day-to-day basis, it's tough work. It's husbandry, it's maintenance. But I can't imagine not doing it. I come every day because I want to take care of them and give them the best life that I can, and I love it. What is it about birds? I don't know. People don't give them enough credit. They have so much personality, and I tell people, like, let me introduce you to flamingos. And they're all so different. You could work with 10 ducks and you start to learn, like, well, that one's stubborn and that one's really sweet. Once you really get to work with them, you just realize they're so intelligent and they have so much personality. You just fall in love with them. You can't help it. I'm getting my master's in zoology, and part of that program, you create like a capstone project. And mine was encouraging youth to pursue careers that they're passionate about, because I couldn't be happier doing what I'm doing, and I know that I feel that way because it was my dream and it was my passion to work with animals. In my program, I have this opportunity to like reach out to kids, and so when I see kids in the park that have an opportunity to make a connection, I have to take advantage of those opportunities, because I could have 5 kids there, and if one of them ends up doing what they love because of that moment, then I've succeeded. I'm happy to be at work every day, and I work with this community where it's just this great camaraderie, and everybody's here for the same reasons because they love what they do.
I remember when the penguin encounter was built and how important that was to me. In fact, when I was in kindergarten, that's when the penguin encounter opened up and had their first hatchings of emperor penguins. And the San Diego Zoo had put out zoo news featuring penguins on the front cover. And I took that magazine to my kindergarten classroom for show and tell, and I said, this is my favorite animal. The best part of my job is obviously the birds themselves. Being inside that penguin encounter it's a really special place. My 5-year-old asked me that question, or he's 7 now, but when he was 5, he said, what are your favorite moments from your job? One was feeling for the first time that penguin encounter was my home. And it was working the closing shift when we were raising an emperor penguin chick. I remember just being on the snow, everyone having left, and thinking that, wow, this is what I have to take care of. This is my place. We were raising the penguin chick in the nursery, and every night at 7:30, my kid would call, since I wasn't there for bedtime, and he'd ask to say goodnight. And then he'd want to say goodnight to the penguin. So I'd hold the phone up to the penguin chick, and I'd make the penguin chick vocalize by wagging some fingers. And that was her way of saying goodnight to my son. And that's just, those moments of connection are wonderful. Penguin keeping is actually pretty tough work. We wield 35-pound buckets on the regular. We're bending and stooping and catering to animals that are knee height. So we're not just slinging a fish to penguins. We have to keep track of immense amounts of data, especially during nesting seasons. Those animals are relying upon you, and so there's a sense of importance about that, and they're so life validating in a way. They offer a return to what you offer them.